Now, when it comes to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, well, if you are ready to see how after Drake ran away to the UK and cursed out Kendrick over there and tried to act like he was the top guy at Wireless Fest in London, well, now Kendrick just touched on the same ground Drake thought was his and took away and destroyed the last place that he thought he had under his control? Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And now really, as the more we talk about how hip-hop is changing without Drake being a part of it, well, his fans are just turning on me and they are making it more and more annoying to tell these stories. Make sure to leave a like so everybody can see what is happening. And now with that said, well, now when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and what is going down with him, really, for Drake, he picked the wrong time to try and make this comeback effort, especially because now as Drake is moving through Europe with what started at Wireless Fest and now has turned into his much smaller Some Special Songs for You tour with Party Next Door, which is about as lame as ever. Simultaneously alongside this, the same potential concert goers of the first Drake tour within these cities and regions in nearly a decade also have the chance to see Kendrick Lamar return for the first time since the Big Steppers tour, and at that play in stadiums now, and now despite not seeing Drake in a way longer amount of time, what we are finding out is that they don't care about this at all and they are running to see Kendrick Lamar. And now while some of the shows we have already looked at out here have just been crazy, things are only picking up from there, and it seems like with the fan culture and excitement out here as a whole, which just in general with this EU leg of the tour, the fans and crowds have been a lot more energetic. What it is almost looking like now is that these fan bases and crowd gatherings are competing with one another and they are trying to get more excited and into the show than the last tour, which is what Mustard literally did say when he was opening up the thing, where he just sets off these shows absolutely masterfully. And now speaking of doing things masterfully, well, now compared to what went down with Kendrick and the Grand National Tour stop in London compared to what Drake has done in the same place, well, now while when Drake came out here for Wireless Fest, he thought he was the man again despite two of the shows in the first night and final night putting people to sleep with how boring of a performance he was and with how mid the music he was doing was as well. And then in terms of that second night, while the crowd was a lot more excited, Drake looked weirder than ever as he just had a public meltdown and crash out over Kendrick Lamar, and so did all of the OVO stands in the crowd. Well, now compared to all of this for Drake, and really him just looking more desperate than ever because he made about every call he possibly could have to get some special guests here to make these shows somewhat interesting on any level, well, now in comparison to the Drake a Wish shows where everybody is bringing their signs and asking him for something, with how Kendrick came into town and just made an entire experience with his Grand National Tour, what we are seeing is that Kendrick really made an incredible experience for his fans out here and made him coming here fully worth it. As even before we get into the show, as Kendrick Lamar did a GNX pop out over there where you can see his entire musical lineage on display, check out merch, and even flick up with the GNX, which looks so cool. Well, just like the best artists do, we are seeing this cloth of top level creatives expand the boundaries of how fans can interact with their art and live within the world of their albums, which Kendrick has done masterfully here, and his team you really got to give it up for because this is so cool and something that fans are just never going to forget. And now compare this to Drake. I mean, this is not just something he wouldn't do, but it's something he can't. Because of course, as Drake's albums are not designed as these creative experiences that are really meant to captivate you. I mean, you can look at the album covers and they tell you the story itself. You can't bring these things to life. They are like a cheap runaway circus that is trying to get out of town as quickly as possible. And now beyond that circus that really Drake has been doing everything recently around, let's just take a second to remember everything Drake has been dissing Kendrick Lamar with, which now within this same ground that the two have now both played on within the matter of a few weeks. Drake said that he is the only artist who can perform 3 sets in a row at the same festival, and this is because he is the best and nobody else can do that. And then he also started multiple chants where he encouraged fans and played into the very idea and fun of them saying F Kendrick Lamar over and over again. And with this, and even just the narrative turning around, that Drake can make a comeback because he got some guys on stage to make the circus look a little better than it has in terms of the special guests who just came out and even the celebrities who made this thing look a little more interesting. Well, now despite Drake putting up all of the optics and really convincing himself that the fans out here had his side over Kendrick's, Kendrick has just shut all of this down once again and really sent Drake the message that no matter where he runs and what he does, no handouts from Drake a Wish will ever have the arena man coming close to doing the things that Kendrick is, and really he knows this deep down inside whether he wants to admit it or not so clearly, because now despite all of the lies that Drake and everybody around him tried to put on Kendrick's name, and just the narratives that they tried to prove over and over again. Well, through all of these games, all Kendrick had to do was arrive in the Tottenham Stadium and let those gates open, and the fans come in. Because now, seemingly with the crowd that Kendrick Lamar got to come out for this show. But you see every single thing you need to know, which is that these fans show up more for him than they ever will for Drake. Because let's break it down, whether we want to look at how Drake performed at one of the most iconic festivals out there, which already pulls in huge crowds regardless of the headliner, or his arena shows, which fill less than half of these crowds, he has just never had a single gathering of fans over his music at anywhere near the level we are seeing with what Kendrick did here. And now, as we understand that within whatever category we compare these two in, Kendrick is just the bigger artist who is making the bigger cultural impact. Well, with that out of the way, in the more important sense, with the show that Kendrick actually ended up giving us. Well, before we really even break this thing down and get into what it is actually representing, when we just look at how the people and press of London perceive the show itself, which before we get into that, if we just go back to a few weeks ago, Drake was panned for his shows and they were just a complete mess. And he also did some nasty stuff like not letting these people even cover their shows in the way that they usually would be able to, and a festival that they always have been welcomed at. And in of itself, this was another petty and immature and unprofessional move, and it all let just people like Top 5 hang out over the shows instead of these people, which I guess really did not work out ultimately, seemingly. Well, overall now, from the impact that these shows had on the city to the music itself, Kendrick Lamar's show was way better received. And when we look at this review specifically, it seems like there are some clear subs at the way Drake performs when you see how Kendrick is being praised for just being a great rapper and live performer without relying on gimmicks, because again, for Drake, as his shows are only ever entertaining because of every other thing going on than his own performing skills. Well, really, just seeing this write-up speaks volumes to the difference between these two. But now when it comes to the actual show, well, as you probably expected, Kendrick Lamar is just running through the Grand National Tour setlist with ease and keeping people engaged throughout the performance like few rappers and artists out right now can even come close to. And once again, when you see the crowds and how they are moving like this for nearly all of the songs and even some of the slower ones and deep cuts. And in addition to this, you can add on some moments of them chanting Kendrick Lamar's name like he is the best soccer, or I guess I should say football player over there as well. And then just once again, they're never chanting Drake's name because again, these people actually like the artist they are there to see, and they're not just all brought together by some weird hatred, disdain, or insecurity that Kendrick Lamar brings out of them. Well, with all this, we see that despite Drake doing everything to pander to this audience and so many other styles and groups around the globe, and really in terms of this whole London thing, Drake tried to do the most to trick them all to be team him with all of the comments about how UK rappers are better lyricists than US rappers, and then even by bringing Dave, Central C, and Skepta on stage to distract from his otherwise mid-performance. Well, over all of that, with just Kendrick Lamar showing up and doing what he does best, which is perform great and without any other gimmicks, he managed to just destroy and outdo Drake in ways that his fans can't even comprehend. And now, even with this show from Kendrick, while Kendrick does not break his routines pretty much, and that is one of the reasons why he is getting praised, which comes down to the level of professionalism that he brings in night out. At the same time as all of this, as we see something like the jacket Kendrick Lamar was wearing during the first night of these shows, which featured all of the symbols of cards on the back of it, which in terms of the outfits Kendrick has been wearing for his tour, it is a little different than the type of stuff he has usually put on. Well, at the very least, you have to wonder if this means something, and if Kendrick Lamar is alluding to, teasing, or trying to send a message to somebody that we don't even understand. But now, regardless of what this could mean and everything Kendrick Lamar has packed into this experience, well, as the city that Drake just thought he won over ended the night playing and having fun to Not Like Us, like We Are the Champions was just playing after their team just won the biggest game possible. Once again, this just speaks volumes to the level of impact that Kendrick Lamar has managed to make and how high of a level he is operating on. And now truly, when it comes to Drake trying to find ways to take Kendrick down and make his impact look smaller, or just create this illusion that he is the bigger artist, it's actually wild, because even when the Drake fans think he will finally do something to better himself, he just manages to get handed another loss. And to be honest, to see one rapper in such control and then to see another who, after what they once represented, can't stop losing, well, really, as this beef represents so much more, and now so do their performances and the effects of that as well, what we are seeing here is that even by focusing on a regional sound and your own style, and not trying to do every single style of music at once by copying them all in what of course Drake does compared to Kendrick, well, there is a very high ceiling and bar that you could reach for Kendrick Lamar and any artist who is following their own creative path and bringing something unique to the entire world of art and culture. And really now, with the world just choosing this over anything that Drake is going on, what we are seeing now is that the world has never responded more to real and authentic hip-hop, and as a result of that, Well, now beyond the back and forth of the beef and all of the drama, that should tell you everything you need to know about where rap music as a whole is going. And so now with all of this said, let me know. What do you think about what just went down with Kendrick Lamar at this show, how he showed up Drake, and just the message now that he has sent, as he has now won over London, which was the only place that Drake ever really thought he's had some sort of a win in since the entire beef. Now I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this, and if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton. And now if you want to see how right before this, well, for Drake, things are already spiraling out of control as LeBron just dissed him pretty bad, and some other things are going on as at the same time as Kendrick Lamar is winning, Drake is crying over him at his tour. Check out the suggested video.